All right, I'm being told that we are live. Welcome to this hour with GMAT Club. My name is Jeff Volmer. I am a GMAT instructor for Manhattan Prep, and I'm here to talk to you a little bit more about using the whiteboard for the GMAT Online Quant problems. I understand that you guys have had some videos on this topic. A little bit more about using the whiteboard for the GMAT Online Quant problems. I understand that there we go. Yeah, double me going on there. Yeah, I heard that you guys had a couple of these sessions last week and that they were popular. So if some is good, more must be better. That's what I'm here to do. Got a second monitor set up. So if you see me glancing over here, I am checking for comments, and I see that there are some comments. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the GMAT Online in general, kind of my experience with it, and then I thought I would walk you through tackling some harder problems. You'll get to see me solving some tough problems in real time. I don't know what problems I'm going to be solving yet. I'm actually going to ask you guys for help with that. But a little bit of background here. I was scheduled to take an in-person, in-center GMAT March 24th. And that did not happen for obvious reasons. So when the GMAT Online launched, I signed up and I took it May 1st. So I guess almost 4 weeks ago now. I received a 770 on the GMAT Online. I got a 50 on Quant, a verbal 45, and an IR 8. Yeah, it's a different animal, taking this exam without being able to write down on paper or on your yellow pad. But I've learned that through practice, you can actually get pretty good at doing all this stuff on the whiteboard. And so I want to talk to you about some of those things today. Yeah, some quick questions coming in today already. Help understanding if typing or drawing with the mouse is faster. That's a good question. It's really dependent on what you're trying to draw or type out. I will say if I'm trying to do geometry, I'm going to draw because I won't type out a geometry problem. So it's really dependent. Maybe you'll see me kind of have to make those decisions in real time coming up here. So here's what I want to do. I am going to outsource kind of problem selection to the viewers right now. I'm going to have you guys pick random numbers. We talk about picking numbers and testing cases in quant problems all the time. I'm going to have you guys do that right now. I need a handful of numbers, integers, between 1 and 150. Can you just go ahead and type in a random integer between 1 and 150 in chat, in the comment box?
Jeff, can you check if your screen is shared?
I am not sharing my screen quite yet. I'm about to do it right now.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
I can share right now. That's fine. I'll share this monitor. Okay, wow, now I know that a lot more people are here than I did initially. Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna kind of write these 2-digit numbers down. Or it looks like there's a 3-digit number too. Very good. 13, 23, 24. And I'm gonna write these down so I can select problems from our advanced quant guide. I think I've got 7 numbers in so far. I need 3 more. Give me, okay, 29 just came in. I need 2 more. 2 more numbers between 1 and 150. I do not think there is a change in difficulty level in the GMAT exam. I think the questions can be just as easy and just as hard. So yeah, I did a webinar back with GMAT last week, and they said that there is no kind of change in difficulty in the question pool to kind of compensate for it being on an online format. Cool. All right. I think I got them. Oh, I didn't do 44. I should put 44 in here because it was selected first. And so I think that gives 121 the boot. Guys, we're going to do these 10 problems. I'm sorry if you can't read this. This is mostly for me, but the problems we're going to do are 13, 23, 24, 29, 44, 45, 75, 79, 102, and 145. I'm going to select these from our advanced quant book. So I have all of the Manhattan Prep advanced quant workout problems in this folder. and we're just going to pick them based on the numbers you gave me. If you don't have this book, this is a great way to just preview like 7% of the workout problems in the book. If you do have the book, maybe you can get it and you can check me as I go, because I think me looking up the answers is going to be not going to make for great TV here. Yeah, let's go ahead and dive in here. So I'm going to go ahead and move this problem list off the screen. So the first problem on the list is 13. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to pull open a problem. Since we're not going to do problem 10, I'll just go ahead and pull that up. It's going to pop up here. I am going to resize this window so it's like a little bit bigger for everyone. I was hearing that viewing windows was kind of tough the last few sessions. And now I'm going to move the whiteboard here and try solving. Okay, so there's going to be a little bit of kind of lag time in between me opening up the questions and resizing the whiteboard, but that is going to be kind of the mechanics for how we do that. And yeah, I think this video is going to be on YouTube forever, for better or for worse, Vivian. So yeah, you can take a look at it later, and we can relive all the mistakes I make. Cool. Let's go ahead and hide this, move this down a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and try to set the timer. We've got 10 problems. And so I'm going to set the timer for 20 minutes or so. And that way I can like try to hold myself to a reasonable standard here. At first, this is going to be kind of a lot like watching me do stuff. And I won't be able to look at comments while I'm doing this because I'm going to be trying to solve these like in real time. But then after the 10 problems are up, we can go back and kind of dive into the work and the thought process a little bit more. I will try to kind of stream of conscious talk as I'm working, so you can hear kind of the processes that are happening and like the decisions I'm making on the whiteboard. But I've never really done this before. I figured this would be an interesting experiment, and I appreciate you guys for being a part of it. Cool. Let's go take a look at problem 13. Problem 13 is first. Let me go ahead and get the timer going and resize this window a little bit. All right. Hopefully you all can read that. Let's get started. All right, so museum sold 30 tickets. I'm gonna write some stuff down, type this out, 30 tickets. On Saturday, there were $10 general, spell, $70 specials. Any general tickets? All right. Well, if I could figure out how many special tickets were sold, I could figure that out too. How many specials? Let's go look at statement 2 first. Statement 2 looks easier. The museum sold more than 20 but fewer than 25 special exhibition tickets. That's not specific enough, right? That's going to be not sufficient. There could be 21 special tickets and 9 general. There could be 24 special and 6 general. So statement 2 doesn't give me a specific value. That's going to be not sufficient. So I'm going to eliminate answers B and D. And now I have to take a look at statement 1. All right, statement 1. Total rev between 1570 and 1670. Okay, so I will just tell you I have no problems like this where they give you a range and it seems like that's not sufficient. But this is like a classic trap because there might be only like one particular value of total revenue that exists here. So what we're going to do, like for instance, if you had like dimes and nickels, you can't have a total of like 29 cents, right? There's certain discrete amounts of total coinage you can have there. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to suppose there's 20 special tickets and 10 generals. If there were 20 specials, that would be $1,400, and the 10 generals would be an extra $100. So that would give me a total of $1,500. Now what I know is every time I want to trade a general ticket in for a special, so if there were 21 specials, that would now be $1,470. If there were 9 generals, that would now be 90. Every time I make this trade, my total will increase by 60, right? You get rid of a $10 ticket for a $70 ticket. So the total goes up by 60. So that means the next time I do this, there'll be $1,620, and the next time would be $1,680, and only 1,620 is in this range. So this is going to be the magic amount. I believe that's when there's 8 general tickets. So that means statement 1 is sufficient. I'm going to go ahead and pick statement 1. Answer A. Normally, I wouldn't write this large on the whiteboard, but I see that I think we need larger text so everyone can view. All right, next question. Question 23. This is going to be fast and furious. Yikes. All right, this one looks ugly already. Hopefully we can see this. For all the positive integers and in sequence A is defined by. Okay, what's the sum of sequence terms 1 through 10? 1 to 10. All right. Oh, I need to make that bigger. Normally I would type in 18 font. Sum of terms 1 to 10. All right, what's the first term? 0. Second. 2 minus 1, 1 over 2. So a half. Third. Normally for sequence problems, I just need to type a bunch of these out and see what happens. Yeah, third would be 2 over 6. Fourth would be 3 over 24, so an eighth. That seems like it's going to be pretty tough. It does look like the sum is getting smaller and smaller though, or the terms are getting smaller and smaller, and the sum is going to converge. This is one I think I might have to bail on. Not seeing the pattern here. Let me try one more term. Let's see if it gives it to me. Fifth would be 4 over 120, which is 1/30. All right, looks like the sums are getting smaller and smaller, but all of these are about 1 here. What happens if I just add these 3? A half plus a third is 5/6. So if the sum of the first 3 terms is 3 minus 1 over 3 factorial. So maybe the sum of the first 10 terms is 10 minus 1 over 10 factorial. I'm having trouble here. I think I would guess. I'm going to guess something with 10 factorial in the bottom. I'm going to guess B. I'm going to guess B. Actually, B looks kind of like it could be what this is for 3 terms. All right, that was a loss. I'm going to take that as a loss. I'm going to guess and move on. Pretty rough. But I kind of knew this going into this experience, that this was going to be rather humbling. All right, if x and y are positive integers, 5 to the x plus 4 to the y plus 3, what's the units digit of n? What is the units digit of n? Okay, well, I know 5 to the x will end in 5. Cool, its unit digit is going to be 5. So really this question is, what is the units digit of 7 y plus 3? 7 to the y plus 3, because I know I'm always going to add something that ends in 5 here, because x and y are positive integers. So I know the 7's units digit cycle every 4, right? 7 to the first ends in 7, 7 to the second ends in 9, 7 to the third ends in 3, 7 to the fourth ends in 1, and then it repeats. So statement 2 is going to be sufficient because it tells me y is a multiple of 4. So I know that this is going to go in that pattern of that cycle of 4. Statement 1 tells me that y is a multiple of 2, and that's not going to be sufficient. All right, yeah, I'm gonna pick answer B here. I feel like I need to make up time for that horrible sequence problem. All right, sorry, those are little b's. We're gonna pick it and move on. Statement 2 is sufficient. Statement 1 is not. Question 29. Oh boy. I feel like I'm getting a lot of sequence problems. You guys picked good numbers, And there's an integer greater than 0. All right, and positive int. I'm gonna get my text bigger. I don't know why it's defaulting to something small. Positive integer sequence t is equal to the previous term plus n. Okay, so t1 is equal to t0 plus 1, 4. t2 is equal to the previous term plus 2, 6. Let me just start writing these out. All right, t1 is 4. t2 is the previous term plus 2, so 6. t3 is the previous term plus 3, so 9. Previous term plus 4, 13. So this is where I'm going to draw out because I don't feel like setting up new text boxes for all of these. 18, I'm going to add 6 here. All right, so I've got enough. Is t even? All right, so where is it even? It's even at term 2. It's even at term 5 and 6. And then term 7 would be 31, 39, and then this would be 48 and 58. So it looks like it's alternating. It's like odd, even, odd, odd, even, even, odd, odd, even, even. M plus 1 is divisible by 3. M plus 1 is divisible by 3. That would tell me n is 3. No, or n could be 6. Yes, that's not sufficient. 1, not sufficient. Statement 2. N minus 1 is divisible by 4, so n is 1 less than a multiple of 4. So odd. Because the cycle has every 4, that should be enough. Yeah, it tells me n is 1 less than a multiple of 4, so it'd be like here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 here, and then 11 would also be odd. I think that one's sufficient too. Woo! Yeah, brain is kind of going really fast here. Sorry if this is a little rambly. Maybe we can get in here and actually talk about these later. All right, I'm going to pick answer B for this one and move on. All right, we'll do one more. I'll check the clock. 44. This one was it just made the cut. Can we see that? A little pixelated. Hopefully we can see it. What is the value of this? That's a good question. All right, let's FOIL out these exponents because clearly it has something to do with that, both base 3s. So this is the square of a sum, a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. All over something similar. I wish I could just copy and paste this. Minus 2ab plus b squared. All right. So I know if I do something like this, like 3 to the 7th over 3 squared, that's 3 to the 5th, because I subtract the exponents. So I'm just going to subtract the exponents here. So a squared minus a squared is nothing. 2ab minus a negative 2ab is 4ab. And then the b squareds minus b squareds will cancel. So this should turn into 3 to the 4ab. What is that? I need to know what ab is. Statement 1 is not sufficient, but statement 2 is. All right, so that one's clearly all about the rephrase. Where is my larger text box? Statement 2 is sufficient, statement 1 is not. I think what you find on these problems is you just have to be like really decisive with how you attack them. Sorry, I'm gonna check the timer. Timer is at 11 minutes. Looks like I've fallen behind a little bit. We'll just forge onwards. Yeah, you have to be decisive early on with how you're going to attack problems. Oh God, I think the decision on this one might just be to skip it. This one looks pretty horrible. Let's be decisive. Let's estimate. Root 24, let's do this, 5 root 23. So I'm actually not gonna write this down. I'm gonna do a lot of this in my head. Root 23 is just under 5, times 5 is just under 25, plus 24 is about 49. So this is root 49-ish, which is about 7. 24, same thing here. So 5 times root 23 is about 25. Technically, it's going to be smaller than that because 24 minus it can't be negative. So this is going to be about 0. So root 7 times about 0, or sorry, about 7 times about 0 is about 0. Hard to estimate things that are about 0, but I will say that A is way too much, B is way too much, C is way too much. It looks like either D or E. I'm going to guess D, that cleverly all this stuff cancels out, and then you're not just magically left with option E here. It actually looks like there's some foiling you could do here, and it looks like everything's going to cancel out. So I'm going to go with answer D. But this is a problem where you really have to make a business decision if you're going to do it, and if you are, you have to be kind of quick about it. Let's go on to the next one. Let's go to 75. Jetine, I would like to know what you mean by that. A little more info there. Be good. All right. If X, okay. Okay, they're all positive integers, Q is bigger than R, so no real funny business going on here. All right, so when I see things with different bases, well, actually, I see things with the same exponents here, so let me try and get those on the same side. X times 10 to the Q equals 10 to the R plus Y times 10 to the R. Okay, I gotta figure out the unit digit of Y. I'm gonna go ahead and factor out 10 to the R here. And that's 1 plus Y. And that's equal to X times 10 to the Q. Trying to figure out the unit digit of Y. So, because I know Q is bigger than R, I can now divide both sides by 10 to the rth, 10 to the rth power. And that will leave me X times 10 to the Q minus R, which is a power of 10. Okay, it's a, yeah, this is a positive power because Q is bigger than R. So this will end in 0. So that means Y has to end in 9. If I add 1 to it, it ends in 0. So Y should end in 9. This should be answer E. All right, let's move on. Question 79. X and Y are positive integers. X plus Y is 3 to the X. All right. So you see, I'm just like using my mouse here because I don't know how to type out 3 to the X well. I could use a caret, but I don't love it. I might type out this though. My question, Y divisible by 6. All right. Statement 1, X is odd. What if X is 1? If X is 1, then 3 to the X is 3, then Y would have to be 2. So the answer is no. What if X is 3? 3 to the third is 27. 3 plus 24. Y would have to be 24 there. And 24 is divisible by 6, so that's a yes. So answers A and D are out. Let's go take a look at statement 2. X is a multiple of 3. All right. X is 3. I just did this one. Y is 24. Answer is yes. What if X is 6? If X is 6, then what I know here, I know 3 to the 6th. 3 to the 6th is 729. But really, I think the important thing there is that must mean 3 to the 6th is still odd. And so Y would then be odd. And an odd number is not divisible by 6. So this means statement 2 is not sufficient. So I think it has to do with this oddness. Let's figure that out. If X is an odd multiple of 3, and then 3 to the X is, of course, a multiple of 3, and it's going to be odd. If X is an odd multiple of 3, then Y would have to be even. Y would also have to be a multiple of 3, because a multiple of 3 plus another multiple of 3 is how you get to the sum that's a multiple of 3. So that's basically saying that Y is a even multiple of 3, hence it's divisible by 6. This should be answer C. I don't know how I would write all that down. I think I would have to just say that one out loud or say it softly to myself. You can't talk during the online GMAT. You will get in trouble. I do remember on one problem, I kind of exclaimed, I was like, oh, that's neat. And they told me to never talk again. All right. Oh God, this one looks like a problem because it's so long. Hopefully you can read that. Opposite ends of the straight road start running towards each other. J and A. The rates are randomly selected. So J runs 3, 4, 5, or 6. A runs 4, 5, 6, or 7. What's the probability John has traveled further? So what's the probability that John's speed is faster than Amanda's? Okay. If you pick 3, the probability is 0 for John. If John goes 4, the probability is also 0. If John is going at 5, then Amanda would have to go at 4. So there's one option. If John goes at 6 miles an hour, Amanda would have to go at either 4 or 5. So there's 2 more options there. So there's 3 ways to do this. So there's 6 total combinations of speeds they can go, 3 of which John would be going faster than Amanda. And so the probability should be 3 out of 16. Answer A. Yeah, actually, if I had just read that one down at first, I probably wouldn't have had to draw that out and maybe would have saved some time. All right, what's the last one? 145. I should see how I'm doing on time. We'll just check afterwards. All right, A, B, C, and D. I need to blow this up for you guys. There we go. A, B, C, and D are positive negatives. The range is 9 when A is divided by B. This would be one where I definitely wish I could have a stylus. So A divided by B equals something, remainder 9. So that what that tells me is, in real language, that tells me A is 9 more than a multi of B. I don't know if that's real language. The remainder is 5 when C is divided by B, by D. That tells me C is 5 more than a mult of D. A Lulu. A mult of D. Yeah, I need to get the autocorrect off on here. Which of the following is not possible for B plus D? Not possible. So the rule for like possibilities with remainders is a remainder can't be more than the quotient, or it can't be more, sorry, the remainder can't be more than what you're dividing by. So B cannot be like 7 here, because if you were dividing by 7, you wouldn't have a remainder that's bigger than 7, or that's 7 itself. So this tells me B, it actually tells me that B is less than 9. B is less than 9. This one also tells me then that D is less than 5. And so if B is less than 9 and D is less than 5, then it would be that's the exact opposite. B has to be greater than 9. B has to be greater than 5. So B is 10 at the minimum. Yeah, that was easy to get turned around there. It's a good thing none of the answers worked when I wrote that down. If B has to be greater than 9, its minimum is 10. And if B has to be greater than 5, its minimum is 6. And so it would be impossible for them to be 15. Oh my gosh. Let's see how I did on time, because I think that's the 10th problem. 21, where is it? 21:15. So maybe fell behind a little bit there. There were probably some problems I could have, if I had read a little bit more initially, and instead of just kind of getting to work right away, I could have finished maybe in under 20 minutes. The other thing is, I think if I weren't trying to talk as I went, probably could have saved some time on there. Let's see what some of these what some of these comments are now. Okay, so Jatine, you were saying like, yeah, writing the equations via mouse can be time consuming. You're right. I will be honest. I think a lot of times when I'm actually solving equations, I would do them in my head. That doesn't make for good TV. So I think I was trying to write out a little bit more than normal, but yeah, there is some painful moments in here where I'm trying to sketch things out. Yeah, I don't know if there's like some specific ones, but like testing cases is kind of a pain. I would honestly probably do a lot of this in my head and just like see that statement one's not sufficient by testing cases a little bit quicker in my head. Yeah, this one was pretty awful. I think I needed to write that one out though. I didn't really know how to handle that one initially in my head, kind of like factoring and dividing, although maybe on a different day that would have been different results. Oh, this problem, I don't remember what problem this one, but this one was pretty awful. That might be one I want to go look back on. Let's see what other people have said. Are all of these generally the toughest GMAT Quant questions? Like, how do you define toughest? These are from our advanced quant book, and I will say that the problems in that book are hard. I think a lot of them are harder than ones you will see on the actual exam. I will tell you, I took the exam about a month ago now, and I don't remember there being any problems that were like, I don't know how to do this. 36 hours after I took the exam, I realized I fell for a trap in data sufficiency while I was brushing my teeth. I came to this realization. But these ones are hard. I don't know if they're the hardest ones in the entire book. I don't know what the hardest ones are, but I think this is a pretty good sampling. You can use trackpad and the mouse at the same time. Yes. And I did not do that today, but it is possible. Like I also have a trackpad. I'm a horrible drawer with the trackpad. I'm also a pretty bad drawer with the mouse, as you might see, but the trackpad is even worse. All right. There were some, can I explain 102 again? Which one was 102? Was that the second to last one? Let's take a look at 102. Oh, actually, I think this one was like, of all of these, this one might have been my favorite one because I felt pretty good about it. But basically, you have John and Amanda. They're going to start running towards each other, and their rates, their speeds are randomly determined by these values. Oh, let me go ahead and make the problem a little bigger for everyone. There we go. So John might run at 3 miles an hour. He also might run at 6 miles an hour. And Amanda might run between 4 and 7 miles an hour. And what I want to know is basically in most of these, since Amanda is running faster than John, they will meet somewhere to the left of this diagram because Amanda will cover more ground in the same time that John does. But there are some opportunities for John to go faster speed than Amanda. So if I kind of like created all the combinations here of speeds that John could go and speeds that Amanda could go, there would be 16, right? 16 combinations, like 3 and 4, 3 and 5, 3 and 6, 3 and 7, 4 and 4, 4 and 5, 4 and 6, 4 and 7, etc. And I just need to find which of those combinations does John have a greater speed than Amanda. And I think the only ones that work are when it's like John at 5, Amanda at 4. Again, John at 5, Amanda at 4. John at 6, Amanda at 4. Or John at 6, Amanda at 5. Basically, what's the chance that if you draw a number from here, it's greater than a number from here? These are the only ways to do it out of those 16 ways. There's some where they would have equal speeds, but then John would not travel farther than Amanda. He would travel the same distance. So that's kind of a trick. But yeah, I think 3 out of the 16. So that's why I picked 3 out of 16. Let's see. Okay, I got a bunch of new comments. I hope that makes sense, KM. Let me know if it doesn't. Yeah, and then I'll get to that one in a second. Do you have a mouse pad? I have a mouse, a wireless mouse here. Yeah. One thing that you can do is I've found that slowing down the cursor speed with the mouse was helpful. I don't have the greatest, like, I don't know, what are they called? What is that called? Fine motor skills. I don't have the greatest fine motor skills. I almost got held back in kindergarten because like couldn't color in the lines. couldn't use scissors very well. Like my scissor cuttings were really bad, and I didn't learn my colors. Turned out that I was colorblind, so that wasn't my fault. But the fine motor skills, that was true. So my drawing's not great. I've had to slow down my cursor to have any success here. Yeah, that's been like a kind of a tough thing to learn here. It's why I try to do, like when I'm actually doing these problems, is I do more work in my head and try to think, is it actually worth me typing and writing stuff down? Because sometimes that can make things worse. Yeah. All right, Cam, good. Could you explain? Oh, Marges. Yeah. So maybe I can just diagram this real quick. It doesn't have to turn into like a complete probability lesson, but like if you had, here, I could actually just show some other ways you can use the whiteboard. Let's have Amanda's speeds, and she can go at 4, 5, 6, 7. Also found that when you double space on this thing, it puts periods, which is kind of annoying. And then you could have Jeff's speeds. John's speeds. I'm Jeff. And Jeff's speeds could be at, what could he do? He could go 3, 4, 5, or 6. And so you take a look at the boxes where Jeff's speeds would be faster than Amanda's speeds. I've done it again. I put Jeff instead of John. I want to change this problem to be Jeff. Cool. So there's 16 boxes here, and I want to find like, that's why the denominator is 16. There's like 16 total options. And there should be 3 of them where Jeff's speed is faster than Amanda's. It would be this one, and this one. That's it. Cool. 23. A digital mouse. I don't know what a digital mouse is. Tech is not my strong suit. Do you mean wireless mouse? You can use a wireless mouse. Richwick, maybe you can help me understand. Wireless, there we go. You did clear that up, thanks. Yes, you can use a wireless mouse. In fact, when I was at the exam, I asked the person checking me in. I was like, I have a wireless mouse, is that okay? And she was like, I don't see why it wouldn't be. So she gave me the thumbs up. Cool, question 20. Thanks for the other explanations in chat, everyone. That's helpful. Could you explain question 23? I could try. Is that the one I gave up on? Maybe I can't do that one. Did anyone check me as I was going? And if like I was getting any of these right or wrong? I think this is question 23. I remember it being the second one and it kind of throwing me here, giving me quite a bit of anxiety. Maybe we can, this is a little dangerous. Maybe we can think through this a little bit more rigorously right now. But the reason I settled on B is after I tried sketching out a bunch of these terms, and I was like, I have no idea what these are going to add up to. It looks like it's going to converge to 1. In fact, like this seems one of those mathematical principles where like some series just converges to 1. I don't know why it does, but I like imagine it does. All of these answer choices look like they're approaching 1, right? Oh, I guess 9 factorial or 10 factorial does not approach 1. That's like much smaller than that. That's like a 9th or a 10th. Trying to think about that. But the rest of these, the denominator is just a little bit bigger than the numerator. And so I had a hard time figuring out which one of these would be 1. So what I did was I tried just imagining this was, what is the sum of all the terms in the sequence from A1 through A3? And so I just added the first 3 terms, which was 5/6. So yeah, I think I'd imagine there's some rule that holds like through any number. And I was trying to kind of more generally think about that. So I reimagined this problem as through A to the third, or the third term, A3, and that would be 5/6. And then I tried figuring out if any of these would what the corollary would look like if the third term was the final term. So this would be like 2 times 2 factorial over 3. And 2 times 2 factorial over 3 is not 5/6. So the answer B is definitely not right here. Yeah. So which one would these be? Oh, it's C. It's C. Yeah, this would be 3 factorial minus 1 over 3 factorial. It's like pretty much 3 factorial minus 1 is 5 over 3 factorial is 6. So I guess this one would be answer C. I don't know, does anyone have the book? They could like look it up and verify. I have the book nearby, but I don't feel like checking. But that one's answer C. Let's just try it again. What happens if I add an 8th onto it? 5/6 plus an 8th, 5/6 is 20. 20 24ths. An 8th is 3 24ths. So the 4th term, if I added up all 4 terms, this would be 23 over 24. And answer C is, yeah, it would be 4 factorial minus 1 over 4 factorial. Yeah, minus 1. So this one looks to be answer C. That one was pretty brutal. That one was also one I think I knew at the beginning that I was going to have a hard time with. And I was like, I think I was a little behind the clock already from that first problem getting things set up. Tarun has some comment in here, which is probably correct, and I just don't know why. Well, Tarun's got answer C. He feels pretty good about it, so, or she feels pretty good about it, so I'm going to go with answer C. Yeah, look, I think kind of like the actual exam, there's going to be some problems that you might just not solve. And again, when I said you have to be decisive with these, you also need to be decisive, like not just how you're going to proceed, like if you're going to use the cursor, if you're going to type, or if you're going to rephrase, if you're going to test cases, or if you're going to substitute, or you're going to eliminate with systems of equations, but also like at a higher level, like if you're going to do the problem. Because I think, I could spend a lot, like 6 minutes fumbling through this problem and still, come up short. And that doesn't seem like a good decision to make on this exam. So maybe I should recognize that, I'm going to get some problems wrong on this exam. This is going to be one of them, and just guess. I ended up guessing at the end anyway, and I was wrong. So I might as well guess at the beginning and be wrong. Yeah. Yeah. Were there any other ones in here? Any other problems in here? If not, I can go ahead and talk through some other things that like didn't come up on the whiteboard that might come up. There's some like learning curves with the whiteboard. Did you think that testing at Test Center would be better than the online mode? Look, to be honest, I was nervous about taking it online for sure, because I was, at first resistant, I think as a lot of people are, resistant to taking an exam, like taking all these quant problems on a format where I couldn't really write stuff down. And I'll be honest, like I think would prefer to be able to write stuff down, but I put in quite a bit of practice on this in the last, 5 weeks, and I'm coming around to it. It's like, actually, while it would be like all things being equal, it kind of would be nice to have the option to write stuff down. I'm finding that the thinking I do on these problems is like more precise. It's like more directed. It forces you to focus on kind of your plan of attack more so. I think when you have a pen, it's just really easy to just kind of start writing stuff down as quickly as possible, and that can lead you to taking not very efficient solution pathways. I think with this, it's almost like not to write some bogus stuff down, and so it helps you almost focus your thought in a more directed way. At least that's kind of some of what I've found. I found on verbal that like there's really no difference for me. I don't really take a ton of notes in verbal, and the notes that I do, I actually kind of like having a text box to type into as I'm going. On IR, I didn't really notice a big difference there. Yeah, probably because you don't need to type stuff out like every single question like you might on Quant, but on IR, I didn't really notice that much stuff that was different. Some of the things I've found out while doing these is if you want to start a new text box, so like old text box, and you want to start a new one, you have to click your mouse 3 times to do it. There's 3 clicks, new text box. So that's kind of some tech stuff that it's good to just know how to do. I've also found that like it can be hard to like place text boxes where you want them. So one way that you can do this is like create a line and then use the line to like click, right? If I'm creating a bunch of columns with column headings, like I'll just click here for its heading. And then for my second heading, I will click here. And this prevents you from like having headings that are like in different like vertical positions. Because when you're, if I was working backwards from the answer choices, that one thing I would like to do is just like place all my answers. And I'd like to be able to have a consistent I'd like to have consistent horizontal rows for this. So if like answer A or 3, I'd like the 3 to be pretty much directly to the right of A, 6, 9, 12, 15. And then, whatever this next heading is, I would put something here. So the quadruple the answer choices, go here. And now everything's kind of aligned. So I found that like using a vertical line helps me create some rows. What about the IR section? Yeah, the IR section, I'll be honest, I don't practice doing lots of IR questions, so I'm not really sure how to answer the IR section issue. I had a handful of IR questions that were just quant problems in the IR component of the exam. Actually, one of those questions, it was like a really cool divisibility question. I'm a big nerd, but I was like solving this problem and there was like some layer of divisibility in there that was like hidden. And I said out loud, I was like, that's a cool question. And then the proctor told me to be quiet. But I didn't find the whiteboard to be much of an issue with IR. Like I used the whiteboard for the quant problems and I didn't for the problems that weren't super quant focused. So I don't think the whiteboard is much of an obstacle on the IR section. And I don't think it is on the verbal section either. Yes. Yeah, Garima, writing equations breaks the train of thought. You're absolutely right here. This is kind of one of the more frustrating things is like typing out an equation or drawing it with my mouse takes extra time. And it's like time I'd like to be using, like thinking about the next step in the problem. And so it does slow you down. You have to kind of find opportunities to make up that time and decide, am I going to make up the time here or on a different step? And a lot of times for me, making up the time is like by doing mental math. I have pretty solid mental math skills. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why the whiteboard wasn't as much of an obstacle for me is because there are some shortcuts I can take that save me time. And then I can spend that time typing stuff out. So yeah, knowing like your math fact down cold, being able to do like quick multiplication and division in your head is, it's useful on the in-person format, probably more useful here because it saves you time that you can give elsewhere. How would you multiply numbers like 45 times 97 on the whiteboard? Tarun, here's what I would do. On the whiteboard, I actually think you can do this, like a problem like this, the old-fashioned way. Now I will just say undo. I don't typically solve problems like this using like traditional long multiplication. What I would do here is I would say this is the same thing as 45 times 100 minus 3. And most of this I would do in my head. This is 4,500 minus 135. And so that's going to be 4,365. That's how I would do that problem. Again, like these are the problems that I think if you have the kind of the mental math capacity to kind of be able to get here with some practice, it's worth doing right now. because these are the annoying problems where like typing with your mouse typing with your keyboard or drawing with your mouse just takes like forever. I would not want to do that this way. It would be messy. You have to make sure you align all your place values and stuff like that. But if I see, hey, this is just 135 less than 4,500, like that's the way I'm going to go on this problem. And like these are the moments I think where you can get better right now. Plus, like we all want to be better at mental math anyway, right? It's like you ask anybody, like, do you wish you were better at playing the piano? Like, yes. Do you wish you were better at mental math? Of course. Like this gives you like a reason to practice this stuff so you get a better GMAT score. Let's see. Do I have a timing chart? Yeah, let me show you the timing chart. Unless there's any other questions about the problems I just did. Were there any other questions? I don't know if anyone checked these answers, but we can always check them on YouTube. Cool. If there are no more questions about the actual problems, I'm going to clear them. Goodbye. And show you how I would set up a timing chart for quant. I think this is most important. So the timing chart for quant looks something like this. And for verbal, yeah, I could probably do that too. Although for verbal, it's like, it seems less, I don't want to say less important, but like, I don't think there's a real edge to how you set it up in verbal. Okay, here's how I'm going to set up my quant timing chart. This is very similar to the Manhattan Prep yellow pad technique, if you've heard of that. If not, you can just Google it. Manhattan Prep yellow pad technique. But basically what I want to do is I want to chop up my whiteboard. I've zoomed out all the way. All right, I've zoomed out all the way. And we don't need this problem anymore. I'm going to chop up my whiteboard into 32 pieces. What just happened there? 32 pieces. So 32 is a power of 2. So I'm just going to start cutting things in half here. All right, so I've got quadrants. Now I'm going to cut each of these quadrants this way. So now there's 8 pieces. Yeah, I think Stacy probably has something like this too. And I used this on my exam and it worked very well. So basically I'm creating 8 columns and 4 rows, and you can do that by just kind of chopping things in half. So now I have 32 workspaces, one for each problem. And so, yeah, I know these look really small, but I've zoomed out all the way, and you can zoom in really far in the whiteboard. So because there's 31 questions, I'm going to get rid of one of these blocks. I'm going to get rid of this one. Get out of here. So this, again, builds on our yellow pad technique. What we're going to do is I'm going to pick like a kind of a larger text font here, text size, to mark down how much time I'm going to have left at the end of each column. So the last problem will happen here because I'm going to work like down each column. The last problem will happen here, and by the time I'm done, I should have 0 minutes left. So do you need to write 0? Probably not, but we'll just do it. 3 clicks for a new text box, and now I'm going to write 8 here. Okay, so by the time I get through this row, I should have 8 minutes left, and that 8 minutes left on the timer will allow me to solve, hopefully, 4 final problems at 2 minutes each. So I'm going to keep counting up by 8s. And for the last one, I'm actually going to put it here. And so remember, the quant section starts with 62 minutes. And so after the first 3 problems go by, hopefully about 6 minutes have gone by, and the timer should have ticked down from 62 minutes to about 56 minutes. And so then once I've got this set up, and you can set this up, the one thing actually nice about the online version is you can set this up like not on the clock. So at first, when you get checked in and your proctor kind of checks in with you, you start the exam, and there's like a series of introduction screens. Most of them are untimed, and so it's during those screens you just pull open the whiteboard and set up your grid like this. So at the actual exam center, you have like 30 seconds to do this, which is a little tough and frantic, but This is actually one true advantage of the online format. So now I'm going to zoom in, and I actually don't know where it just zoomed me into. There we go. Yeah, the zoom in feature is a little strange. It kind of takes you, I haven't figured this out on like any of the systems, but if you zoom in, it like takes you to like a weird spot, and I actually don't know where it is. This is not like a ringing endorsement of this technique. But yeah, it takes you to a strange spot, and then you'd have to find, and I'm failing at finding it here, you'd have to find where the actual thing is. It's gone now. So that failed. Let me go ahead and try to set this up again. I've zoomed out all the way. Again, the good news is you can do this not on the clock. So take as much time as you need to make sure this works. I am not going to put in the times. Yeah, I don't know where this is taking me. I will say I did not have this issue on the actual whiteboard. So I don't know why it's not working now. Yeah, I don't know where it went. I'm zoomed out all the way and the thing's not here. There it is. But yeah, it's almost like there's some glitch. At some point, I think we should just test out, and maybe someone can do this and tell us in the comments. We should test out like where it takes you when you zoom out, because it doesn't take you somewhere predictable. Does anyone know? Yeah, here it is again. Anyway, that's how I did it on the actual exam. There were no issues. When I zoomed in, it just like took me to the center of the grid, and then I just kind of dragged it around. So I might just need to refresh this. For verbal, what did I do for verbal? Verbal, I just broke the page up. I'm like a little scared to do this, but I broke the page up into 4 quadrants. I counted up by 16s, so we're not going to be able to read that. I counted up by 16s here, 0 minutes here, 16 minutes here, 32 minutes here, 48 minutes here, and yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. Oh, no. I will just clear this. So set up for 4 quadrants, and on each quadrant, and you could actually just do this on an individual page. I did 9 problems in 16 minutes. 9 problems in 16 minutes. And all I did for this was I listed my answer choices, A, B, C, D, E. And then for each problem, I eliminated answers. Yeah, so for like the first problem, if I got rid of answer A, I would just mark it off here. I liked answer C. Question 2, I do the same thing. This is what I did for all verbal questions. I eliminated answers as I went. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 9 spaces, and if that should take about 16 minutes. One thing that was strange when I took the exam is my first reading comp question didn't show up until question 21. That was bizarre. Yeah, I was like waiting for my first reading comp passage, and it after 20 questions, I still hadn't gotten it. So I think, yeah, my 13 of my last 16 questions were reading comp. That was a little intense. That was a lot of reading, especially after having done quant for an hour and then verbal for 45 minutes. Cool. All right, let's see some of these other questions. KM. So yeah, this is an interesting question. And look, I am not an admissions expert. I will just say that straight up right here. What would you suggest for someone who plans to go to business school? Should they wait until the test centers open up, or should you just go for the online exam? So everything that GMAT has said is like the online exam does not count towards your yearly limit of 5 GMATs in a year or your lifetime limit of 8 GMATs in your lifetime. You also can choose to have it included with your score reports or not. And you can, if you do well, you can like send the score to as many schools as you want for free. All of that has me thinking that like all you have to lose from taking this exam is, well, it's going to take a couple hours out of your life, costs $200, but otherwise it seems kind of like a free shot. And you don't want to waste that free shot. So like if you're going to take the GMAT online, like I do recommend practicing for it and studying and like working with the whiteboard and feeling ready. You don't just want to throw away $200, but it does seem kind of like a, besides the hours that it's going to take and the cost, like a no-lose situation. It's kind of like a free shot. In fact, I just got an email from one of my co-instructors, Reed Arnold, who said he just like encouraged one of his students who had been taking the GMAT like, in 2019 and got like a 690 on the actual exam. Like, hey, like you might just want to try taking the GMAT again, for kicks. And he heard back from some schools and they were like, yeah, if you could up your GMAT score a little bit, that would go a long way to boost your application. And so the person like studied and like worked on the whiteboard and then took the GMAT and got a 720 on it, higher than they had ever scored on the actual in-center exams, because it was like they had nothing to lose at that point. And it seems kind of like the case here. So I don't know how long the GMAT Online is going to be going on for. Like they said, June 15th, and that date is fast approaching. I don't know if they're going to extend that, and if so, if they're going to like change the rules, like maybe you can take it more than once and things like that. But it seems like if you're serious about your GMAT studies and you've been putting a lot of work in, I don't know, it kind of seems like a free shot, and maybe we don't want to let that go. I don't want to tell you what to do with $200, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. Yes, Marjus, that is a really good comment for verbal. So I said in Quant, setting up your Quant whiteboard, you have like basically unlimited time because it's during these instruction screens that are untimed. In verbal though, you don't have unlimited time because once you put your answer in for question 31 in Quant, it takes you right to the 30-second verbal instruction screen. And that's not a lot of time to get stuff set up. So thankfully for verbal, there's not as much that you have to do to set up your whiteboard, but you can also use the time at the end of Quant. Like if you finish question 31 in Quant like a minute early, you can actually use, like, don't submit your final answer yet, all right? Make sure you do it before the timer runs out, but use that extra minute to go ahead and erase the, clear your Quant whiteboard, set up your verbal one, and then submit your answer to finish Quant question 31. And now you'll be set up for the verbal one. Any particular techniques you followed to practice Quant on the whiteboard? I think at first you just need to put in the time. All right. It's like you have to accept that it's going to be annoying at first, and just get over it. And then just start putting in some time on this and solving problems. I recommend at first, like if you haven't done much whiteboard work, you first solve problems that aren't brand new, like problems you've done in the past, but maybe you've forgotten, or problems you've done in the past that you missed and you wanted to review them. Those would be good candidates to first try on the whiteboard. You're learning new tech. You don't need to be like thinking about like solving really hard new problems while you're like learning, do I use the text tool? Do I use the draw tool? Do I use the line tool? So at first I would just solve some old problems from your past, like on the whiteboard, and then just kind of ramp it up. Yeah, I think it's one of those things, like after you spend a couple of hours in here, it starts becoming second nature. Yeah, the first few hours are rough, but after you put in the time, it's not so bad. Some instructors who've been at Manhattan Prep for longer than I have told me like this reminds them of when the exam went from being on paper to being on screen. It's like on paper, you just solve stuff like right next to the problem. It's like when I took the SAT or whatever, you could just draw in the margins. And that was lost when the exam moved to being on screen. Now you'd have to like look up the problem, look down at your paper, and keep kind of going back and forth. And this shift kind of, they said it seems similar. And we got very, very comfortable doing the exam on screen. So you can get comfortable doing the work on the whiteboard too. Yeah. Cool. Well, now I'm interested in knowing if I got these problems right. Once I missed that second problem, which is I am okay with. I am fine missing that problem, but now I'm interested in some of these other ones. Do you guys have any other questions for me? Good comments throughout. Thanks for walking, being a part of this this experiment. I was nervous, but you guys have been a supportive group. Any other questions? Cool. All right. Well, I think we'll go ahead and close it up here. Thank you for attending. Thank you for watching if you made it this far in the video on the recording. And regardless of what you do, good luck with the GMAT. Stay safe out there, stay healthy, and best of luck moving forward. Thanks, guys.